He is brushing aside pretty serious allegations of impropriety, sexual and otherwise, so he can save his own political skin. He was sprung getting one off the wrist at a Japanese massage parlour while on official government business. Didn't shirk responsibility at all, did his time in jail, and when he got out, Forrest gave him a second chance.
Who says politics isn't about popularity?
So Gladys Berejiklian is too compromised to be Premier of New South Wales, but just the right amount of compromise to be a member of the Australian House of Representatives. The Prime Minister wants her to run for the seat of Warringah, which is currently held by independent MP Zali Steggall, but was most famously held by Australia's former budgie smuggler-in-chief, Tony Abbott. Gladys is being courted despite the fact she's under investigation by the Independent Commission Against Corruption, which is New South Wales' equivalent of our Corruption and Crime Commission in WA. She's under the pump for turning a blind eye to corrupt practices by her one-time lover and former MP for Wagga Wagga, Daryl Maguire. Scott Morrison says Gladys would be very welcome in his team and would be a great candidate. Morrison was, fittingly, announcing a recycling initiative in Sydney when he tipped a bucket on ICAC, calling its pursuit of the former Premier shameful.
We've seen, recordings of private conversations, detailed, intimate things that were paraded around in the media. What was that about? Was that about shaming Gladys Berejiklian? I thought that was awful.
ScoMo makes it sound as though Gladys is just unlucky in love.
Let's let the tape do the talking.
I think they're dodgy.
Who?
White and all that people, all those people.
Glad. Everyone's dodgy. You don't know.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm just giving you my opinion.
That means you can't mix with anybody. You can't have a conversation.
I know.
Sounds bad.
A Premier saying she will overrule the public service to ensure tens of millions of dollars are used to benefit the lover she kept secret? Yeah, that does sound bad. But there are two ways of looking at this. First, it was a Premier saying she will overrule the public service to ensure tens of millions of dollars are used to benefit the lover she kept secret. Or it was the leader of a party desperate to retain an electorate that should never have been in Liberal hands in the first place because it's in National Party heartland and is therefore a prize seat that should be defended at all costs.
What's your take?
The smoking gun for me is this.
The skullduggery was getting up to the council.
I don't want to know any of that stuff.
That's the former Premier of Australia's most powerful state saying she doesn't want to know about the ins and outs of the dodgy business deals Maguire was brokering. A week after Morrison vowed to clean up standards in federal parliament in the wake of Sex Discrimination Commissioner Kate Jenkins' report, he is brushing aside pretty serious allegations of impropriety, sexual and otherwise, so he can save his own political skin.
I'd sell my soul to be famous.
Nominations for the Liberal candidacy in Warringah have been pushed back to halfway through January. This will give Berejiklian time to consider ICAC's recommendations, which will be submitted by December 20. Here's the thing that shits me because it's so contemptuous of voters. The submissions will not be made public. So punters in Warringah won't know if they're casting a vote for a truly rotten apple.
Astonishing.
Not really. Politicians are arrogant prats who hate being told what to do. They hate being strong-armed and they consistently fail to read the room. And they especially hate independent corruption bodies. It's not just in New South Wales either. John wants to know what's on a laptop once owned by former Upper House Liberal Phil Edman. Edman was sprung getting one off the wrist at a Japanese massage parlour while on official government business. When Phil landed in Tokyo in 2015, he sent a message to WA's local Trade Commissioner, Craig Peacock, in which he admitted, amongst other things, to being sexually frustrated. Peacock was the primary target of the CCC investigation because he was suspected of rorting taxpayer funds. His phone was being monitored, which is why we know Edman confided in Peacock that he was keen to spend his electoral allowance, that's 70 grand a year he gets from us as taxpayers, and had, quote, never had a Japanese honey before.
That's gross.
Phil reckons he was after a remedial massage. But instead of going to a place like this, he went to a place like this. When the CCC got his laptop in August 2019, Phil told a business colleague, "There's enough stuff on that f***ing computer to bury a f***ing lot of people and ruin their political careers forever."
Mind boggles.
Well, it's not a case of if there's a goat, it's a case of how many.
Be nice if we could all cover up our mistakes. Some people own it, move on and redeem themselves.
We had proof of that in today's paper. John Hartman is Andrew Forrest's go-to guy, and he's in the headlines at the moment because Twiggy has just bought the farm attached to the monastery at New Norcia, which is best known for its impressive bakery and as a weekend getaway for the Emperor from Star Wars. I'm sure I heard Twiggy was interested in this thing somewhere. They're bleeding so much cash they need to liquidate their assets. 8,000 hectares of land is now going to be sold, and the rumour is Twiggy might buy it.
Even a broken clock's right twice a day.
It's harsh. Hartman is Chief Investment Officer at Forrest's company Tatarang. Tatarang is the holding company for Andrew and Nicola's vast array of investments. Hartman was the person who decided $40 million was a fair price for New Norcia.
That's a lot of money.
Twiggy banked $4 billion in dividends from Fortescue last financial year, so that's about $10 or $11 million a day, which means it took him less than half a week to save up to buy this farm. Twiggy doesn't suffer fools and he trusts Hartman implicitly. But John, much like Twiggy, wasn't always so well respected. He's been in jail. He did 15 months for an insider trading scam he and high school mate Curtis cooked up just prior to the GFC. Curtis is best known as husband to publicist to the Stars Roxy Jasenko. In 07-08 he traded shares on the advice of Hartman, who was getting the inside skinny through his job at Sydney investment firm Orion Asset Management. They made $1.4 million and spent it exactly the way you'd expect a couple of cocky financiers in their 20s to. Cars, motorbikes and holidays in Whistler and Las Vegas. ICAC had got suspicious and had them banged to rights. Hartman owned his crime, didn't shirk responsibility at all, did his time in jail, and when he got out, Forrest gave him a second chance. And it's paid off for both of them.
So the monks at New Norcia are cashed up.
For the moment. The reason they had to sell is because the generation of orphans who were sexually molested by the creeps like this guy are now grown-ups and they're lawyering up. A fair chunk of the $40 million is going to settle compensation claims. The monks are at the moment spending $2 million a year on legal fees and compo payments, which is something John Hartman should remember next time he praises the monks for their exceptional stewardship of the New Norcia farm he just bought. Because not all crimes can be forgiven. I'm Ben Harvey. For more Up Late, click the subscribe button below.